Good evening. It's good to see each of you tonight. Sure appreciate you coming to our annual meeting. And this is so important. I was just talking to my wife today about a different church that was going through some stuff, and we both said, man, if they would just be congregational, if they would just go to God's people that love the Lord and talk about issues together and make decisions that way, isn't that a great way to do church? And we're like, yeah, it is a good way to do church. So thank you for participating in that. We need one another, and the deacons have worked a good bit on budget, on the ballot, and all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, we're a church of many people, not just 4 or 5 deacons. So we sure appreciate you coming and sharing your prayerful thoughts about our church direction. In particular tonight, we're talking about the church budget and the ballot, and we'll mention the church van, give you an update on the harvest offering, and just a few other small things. So that's our kind of outline for tonight, but of course, we'll begin with some hymns from Mike, and then I'll have a passage of scripture to read. So let's begin in prayer. God, thank you so much for the young children that have been thinking and praying and learning scripture all year, and tonight are celebrating just the end of the year with a pizza party. I pray that you'd bless them. I pray that you would give the workers in the children's department continued vision and love for the kids. And God, I pray that you would direct our meeting tonight as we think about the future of our church in the next year. And we thank you for these psalms that we can sing to you now. Help us, God, to sing them genuinely from hearts that really do love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's stand together and grab your blue hymn books. Listen as I read Psalm 120. I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence comes my help? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. The Lord shall preserve your going out and your coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Father, thank you for these glorious promises that you have given to us through your Son, Jesus Christ. We have confidence that the church will never fail because Jesus never fails. We're thank you for this promise. God, we know that fellowship's existence in this town isn't guaranteed, but Jesus, through his church, will prevail, and we're thankful that you've given us a light here in Des Moines. We ask, God, that you would preserve us financially, with capable leaders, with a robust and powerful Sunday school ministry, with outreach that you would bless, with people coming to Christ. God, I thank you for the music ministry that we have here and the many, many other ministries that we could list off tonight. God, all of them are for you, and we offer ourselves as your servants to serve through the name of your Son, Jesus. God, please watch over our going out and our coming in this next year. We acknowledge, God, that you have been so gracious to us. You have preserved us. You have helped us to have a wonderful year of growth and ministry. We know, God, that you have great things planned for your people in 2025. They may not look outwardly great to the world. They might involve trial or hardship, but we know that ultimately, God, you are working in our church for good. And we look forward to considering tonight the details of ministry as it relates to money and department leaders. Give us wisdom. And God, help us to be united in spirit and unanimous in our understanding of how you want us to move forward. That's always our goal. And we ask that you would give us hearts of love for one another and clarity about these matters for the next year. In Jesus' name, amen. Our deacon chairman, Dan, will come now and open the meeting.
Does the snow plowing arrangement, is it parking lot only or is it sidewalks too?
As far as I know, it's parking lots only.
Okay, so we need to be sure that somebody says, hey, we need the snow shovel crew to show up, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Okay,
And we've kind of done that in the past as well, but if you're interested in helping in that, we're interested in having you help in that. So, yeah, good question, because, yeah, it's just primarily the parking lot itself. They will plow it differently than it's been plowed in the past. In the past, we've lost a number of spots. They'll be plowing the snow off of the lot, so we'll have all of our parking. Before, we didn't complain about it because it was basically free. But now that we're paying, we're gonna actually move all the snow off the lots. Yeah, Richard?
What's the procedure for plowing? Is it going to be on a Wednesday night, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning? How's that going to go?
Al has set it up so that it's done upon request. And so, again, this is something, Wednesday night and Sunday are the primary times that you're looking at making sure that the lot is cleared of any inches of snow, 2 or more inches. So Al will be making those calls to the service.
So how is it going to be paid for then? By the time spent or by the?
The amount of snow.
Okay, okay.
Up to 2 inches is X dollars, 2 to 4 inches is, I think the 0 to 2 is like $220 or $240. 2 to 4 is 300 and some. It's per snow. And Al has those numbers, and if you're interested, those are available. We know what they are. I just don't have them.
Is there going to be material put down also or just plowing?
Yes, they will put material down. They will put salt. They can put salt down too. That's upon request too. That's something we're gonna have to learn.
Okay.
But yes, they have that capability. Good. Anybody else?
Tuesday morning activities, like ladies' Bible study kind of things.
Yes. That's tougher.
What's the question?
So Tuesday morning, so we've got men's prayer breakfast and women's.
Tuesday night, October class.
Right. Hopefully those that starts in February? Your classes will start in February. Hopefully the snowy season
First
will be.
Tuesday of February for
Yes.
10 consecutive Tuesdays.
Yeah, so those are all things we have to deal with, and so, thank you, yes, I don't know what the answer is, but, I'm guessing that if it's a big snow, we probably will need to move that, so. We're gonna learn a lot, we have to show each other grace on this, so as we work through this. Good, any other questions? Back page, go to the back page. Fuel, the
Yeah, if we're buying a newer van, these numbers might change within, yeah, so.
They will change, yeah. We know we can't afford a brand new van,
I'm getting it. This is a selfish request from the bookkeeper. Could we make it 1,020 so that it is an even amount every month? That would make it $85 a month instead of 83.33333.
Yes, 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 I think that's, let's see. How do we want to do this? So this is the proposal, this would be an amendment, right? So we have a amendment to bump to
1,020.
1,020, is there a second?
All right.
Danny has a second. Okay, so all in favor of that amendment to this amount, so it's just this amount, the amounts for the pastors there, to go from 1,000 to 1,020. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so moved. Done. We're very accommodating. We're very. Okay, so if you want to pencil that in. Good. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Okay, I think we're good. We can bring the pastors in. And we'll see if Pastor has any last comments. If there's any questions, we can address those now. Yeah, Dan, Dan, bless you, brother. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, I think we're.
Something I talked to you about, and also Pastor Vance, about the possibility of bringing back, having trustees again, a couple of them at least, and that to assist the deacons and the upkeep of the place around here and that. Not to do everything, but maybe take some of the load off the deacons and that, but that really care about the property and want to try to keep things nice and keep the deacons informed or the pastors informed, whatever in that, but just to assist in that area. It doesn't have to be necessarily a voted on position, just like the security in the building or anything like that, but it was just some people that, it doesn't have to be just guys, but are interested in this building and caring for it and this property. So just wanted to throw that out again.
Yes, can we hit that on new business? Can we hit that?
Sure.
Another topic that might come up with that too, but, so be thinking about this, Jeff is talking about, another category of trustees that, that people that would be involved in the care and maintenance of our building and grounds. He's right, currently, the deacons don't have that skill set. So, but, and it's also a huge job.
Do the other rest of ballot.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so you've got your ballot here. Does anybody not have one? Okay, Dan, would you help out with those? There's a number of folks that didn't get one. So the first line there is for the budget that we just discussed, so you can circle, shall the budget for 2025 that we just discussed as proposed, and we didn't make any amendments, correct? Okay, with one amendment, you can circle yes or no on that. And then you can go down the list there. Now there's a few officers where there was only one person who acknowledged willingness to serve, and so they're the only person on there. If you can circle anybody that you feel is a good fit to serve in that way. You don't have to circle anybody for any particular office if you don't want to. We're just looking for people that would be a good fit for that office. So in those places that there's just one person, you can circle up to one. We prefer, of course, to have two people for, our Constitution tells us we prefer to have two people when possible, but sometimes you have the list of people nominated and folks are not able to serve in that way. So we did, obviously, you're kind of asking yourself, why is there no church clerk? There was a couple people that said, you know, I don't know, this is a good fit for me. I might be able to serve, but I'm not sure that that's my fit. There's two different people that said that. So I said, you know what, I don't want to put you on there if you're not confident about it, but we just left that blank because we didn't have any nominees that were able to serve. Now that is not because I think that we've got 100 people in our church and 100 of them do not want to serve in this way. Here's what happened. Lorene has been serving so generously and kindly for many years, and as is, you can probably guess, when people have served really capably in a role for a while, if 50 people make a nomination, that person often gets 50 nominations, and then 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other people get 1 or 2 or 5. So we did appreciate Lorene's willingness to serve, but she said she'd like a break from that ministry. So we're looking for somebody to serve as church clerk, and there wasn't anybody willing, but that was mostly because we had a very small pool, because everybody just nominated Lorene, because she's doing a great job. So basically, all of that to say, if you say, hey, you know what, I have an eye for organization, we're kind of taking nominations again. So if you'd like to nominate yourself or somebody else, it is an elected position. We can't appoint you to it. You can't just raise your hand and we say you're it. But if there's somebody that wants to do that, let me know. I'd love to have that happen. There are a couple people that can serve in that way if no one else is able. But if you say, you know what, I'd be willing, we can let the church know that there's somebody who is ready to take that job. And so just come and let me know if you'd like to be the church clerk, or you know somebody that you think would be a good fit for that, that maybe didn't get nominated. So finally, I want to say thank you to Jeff. He has served as deacon here at our church for a long time. And just for health and other reasons, he said, you know, this year I'm ready to not serve again. So thank you so much, Jeff. We really appreciate your countless hours of time investing in our church family by being a deacon. So that leaves Dave Barker and Dan McCool, who are currently serving, that are able to be renominated, voted on. And with Jeff leaving, that leaves a third opening. So we have 3 here on the ballot, and you can circle up to 3. So that is a typo that I made. So if you would, just for your own benefit, at the bottom of the page on deacon, it says circle up to 2. You need to change that to 3. You need to change that to 3. So again, you might say, well, would there be other people that could serve in that way? We took in all the nomination forms, and there were lots of nominations, of course, but quite a few people that are qualified would probably be gifted that way, but just for health or any other reasons declined. So that happens in other categories, of course, too, and that was a major contributor there for deacon, that there was a number of men that would have been a great fit, but just weren't able to this year. So these are the 3 that we've got, and yeah, I think if the Lord would place it on your heart to be our church clerk. Maybe it would help to say what that means. The church clerk comes to our business meetings that we have on Sunday nights and just takes notes. What was proposed, what was voted on, and just kind of keeps a record of what happens at our business meeting. And if you say, you know, it doesn't sound that complicated, but I've never seen like the record of the church before. Good news, we'll give you the records of our church from the last few years, and you can look at exactly how we do it and kind of take over the reins there. You're welcome to do that with pen and paper. Some people have done it with a computer. It's totally up to you. We're flexible. We just need to have someone keeping a record of what we discuss and vote on. It's not a verbatim thing. You're not taking a transcript of what happens in the service. It's just kind of the major highlights. So we'll hope to have that filled by the end of the year, but it is an elected position, so we'll just have a short meeting, probably at a Sunday morning or something, when we have somebody there. So, good. Did that all make sense? Any questions? Okay, why don't you take a few minutes and fill out your ballot, and then the deacons will come and collect that for you.
There's just a few new business items that we could also use on.
Oh, okay. Once you're done marking your ballot, take a couple of minutes there, and then Dan's going to add a couple of things on it too, of new business. So take a few minutes and mark that, and then we're going to add a few things to it before we collect it.
I think VBS is a good outreach, and it's tough to plan it. It takes a team really to make it work. And I'm just saying that I think we need to get a jump on this. We need to right now go ahead and find out what the interest level is here in our congregation, and if there are people that will step forward to help. I think that we would see that, but I think we need to take that initial step. And now's the time to do it. Don't wait till spring, and then it's too late. Now is the time.
Okay, so would you, at the bottom here, just write VBS, if you'd like to be involved in that committee, or participate with VBS, then just put a Y, and if you could, no, then just put an N, so a Y or an N. So, yes.
Having people mark that won't give us any names, and I think people probably won't want to put their name on there, so it'll just be a number. Is that what you're wanting, is just a number of yeses and nos?
That was my impression, right, Pam, or no?
Not exactly.
Oh,
I
sorry.
I don't know that anybody in this room will be the people that really want to get involved. What we need to do is to say, do we believe that such a group, we need to find the people that are interested in this, this ministry, this outreach, and then start planning. I can think of many people that aren't here tonight that probably would be interested. So I guess this is just to say, should we go ahead and pursue this with a team?
Okay. Is that an item you want to vote on, or is that just an announcement that we're going to?
I don't know if a vote is necessary
Okay,
as much
okay.
as just saying we want to try to go ahead.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that would be an easy way to move forward, is just start mentioning it the next few Sundays and seeing, hey, is there somebody that wants to help us head that up?
We got Carol and then Pastor Jared.
I was under the impression that the McKinley Back to School Bash replaced VBS. Is that true or not?
Do you have a comment, Jared?
So yeah, that's what we've done every year, is we've replaced VBS with McKinley because the response that we get from McKinley is higher. Over the years that we compare VBS to the McKinley Back to School Bash, we get a higher response from that than we do with VBS. So that's one of the indicators. And I just want to throw this out there, it's just something to think about, that if we did this, we really have to decide budget-wise if we're going to budget in VBS, because it's expensive. You're talking $500 to $800 to fund a VBS, to do it well. People can contribute and do things to kind of mitigate the costs and everything, but we need to kind of have like an upfront cost of purchasing the curriculum, the material, and all that. So just something to consider, that like we'd have to figure out budget-wise before we get to next year and decide. Like that would be something to decide tonight if that's what we're doing. That's all I wanted to say.
If I can advocate for this, I will tell you this, that basic Bible teaching done over several days' time, and that's the target, and it's all different ages. I get the budget part, but I want us to look at ourselves as a church and say, I hope that we can finance both of these things and really invest in our families and our kids and our neighborhood. But I've had people tell me that they're actually sending their kids to their grandparents' house in the summer because they want them to participate in VBS, and we don't offer it. I think that we need to make sure that when we're looking at outreach, that we don't have a narrow view, but we have a wide view of that. That's where I would like to see some dollars. If we're going to put dollars somewhere, I'd like to see us put dollars in both of those pots.
Dan, do you just want to make a motion that we increase this fund so that we can fund both?
Well, and actually, I would say that, Pastor, that we do need to increase that line, because it's deceiving to me to say that it has a line that says VBS, but we don't do VBS, we do this back to school bash. If that's so, then that's what the line needs to say. But if we're gonna, I don't see any reason not to do both. And if it takes, I don't know, if we said it would take an extra $500 to do it, then maybe we need to increase that amount on that line. And maybe we need to put that amount for VBS and this other amount for the back to school bash. You know, and maybe we need to, I'm just talking as a Christian education person, we need to look at both those events and make them just as pointed to the audience that we need. We can do it, you don't have to do it for a lot of dollars, you can do it for a lot less dollars, but you gotta plan ahead. In other years when we've had VBS here, we've had missionaries on furlough come and be the main storytellers or be the main speakers and that kind of thing, but we gotta plan ahead to do that. But talking about a motion, I would say, why don't we, I would make a motion that we have both of those things listed separately and each for $500. Let's see what we can do.
We haven't voted on the budget.
I instructed people earlier, Dan, to mark their ballot. So I think everyone's already marked their ballot.
Oh, well, nobody's turned it in. No votes
That's
were
true.
counted.
That's true.
I mean, if you want to make an amendment, we can make an amendment, and then you can
Sure.
pencil it out, whatever. It's your pleasure. It's your pleasure.
Maybe it would be helpful, Dan, to just count the ballots, see where we're at with that, and then make a new motion when we're finished with that to amend the budget. And we've got a couple other voting things too, but
Then one more, if you could bring up there, and if, Pastor Jared, if you could, don't mind leaving,
jump out for a second.
and Tyler Moore's not here. So there's one other item, and so if you could forward that, so hopefully this is big enough so you can read it. Thanks. There we go. So we'd like to recommend, basically, in recognition of the extra work that Pastor Jared and Tyler did while Pastor Dan was out on sabbatical, to give them a token of our appreciation for the extra work that they did. They did have a lot of extra work there. It's not a lot, but it's just something to let them know we care about them and really appreciate that both of those guys really stood up and stepped up. And so we're just recommending $500 for Pastor Jared, $250 for Tyler. And so on your ballot, underneath the VBS that you probably wrote in, that I told you to. So if you could just mark Pastor.
We just need a,
Could we have a motion? Okay.
When Pastor Jarrett was presenting the sabbatical to the congregation, he emphatically said, this is not going to cost the congregation a dime.
Yes.
And so now we're changing that.
Well, this is not coming from Pastor Jared. Matter of fact, he doesn't even know about this, right? So this is coming from the deacons, just as a recognition there. So this is not coming from Pastor Jared.
But that was what the congregation voted on,
Yeah,
that
so
it would
if you
not
disagree-
cost anything.
If you don't think this is good, then the answer would be a no. Okay, is there a second? We may not even have a vote. Is there a second? I see a second. Corinne has a second there. Okay, so then on your ballot, just put,
gift.
gift, yeah, gift. And yes or no. Yes or no.
A motion by Dan, seconded by Corrine.
Yeah. Yes, and then we'll be voting here. Paper ballot. There'll be a paper ballot. Okay. Do we want to just go ahead and turn these in? There's
Yeah.
a couple of items left, right?
Yeah, I would just turn them in.
We We could bring in Pastor Jared. Yeah.
Correct. We can either amend, I don't know if procedurally there's any rule about whether we can amend what we just voted on just now in the same meeting, or if we need to wait till our next meeting.
Now technically, you've marked a ballot, but you have not cast your ballot, so there's been no vote on our budget yet.
That's true.
So.
Say again?
Picked up ballots?
Oh, we just need an extra one. Jared, do you have the extras? Okay, we will get you one. Okay. So I think it'll be easiest then just pass those in and we will receive what we've already finished discussing, and then we'll have a new motion from Pam toward the end of the meeting there. We have a couple other motions to discuss while the deacons are counting those. So currently we're just voting on what was presented with one amendment, and then Pam is wanting to bring up another amendment to a budget that we may or may not pass in just a few minutes. Does that make sense? So if we change the line for VBS, we'll do that after this. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, that was a motion gift by Dan. Yep. And if you have your ballot there, Dan said to write the word gift and then write yes or no. Yep. Thank you. So on your ballot, you should have an extra line where you wrote in gift and then yes or no for that particular item. Yes, thank you. Super. And then I think the guys are grabbing those together, and then we'll vote on a couple of other items that don't have to be on a paper ballot. Okay, as they pick those up, super great news. This is really encouraging. Harvest offering is around $11,000, which is kind of what we were shooting for. So thank you. Thank you for your generosity, and that's a joy. So two things that goes toward. One is camp scholarships, fully funded for 2025. We'll send lots of kids to camp for free after they do a lot of Bible memorization, taking sermon notes. There's various ways they can earn camp points, and that is a huge help to our church. And I hope that we'll get to send some community kids on our new church van. That is the second part of the harvest offering. So that puts us somewhere in the realm of $6,000 to $7,000 for a new church van. So the deacons and I discussed this, and we thought the most judicious way to move that forward would be to just take the money that has already been given through the harvest offering for the church van and to just buy something on behalf of the church. A lot of times when we're doing a big project or we're spending money, we usually come to you with a detailed proposal, all of the stuff, and then we vote on it, which we will do that if that's what the church desires to do. The problem is we're kind of in a category of vehicle where you're kind of at the lower end of what you can spend. So if we had $20,000 to buy a new van, we would go to a dealership and we would pay a good amount of money for a van from a dealer. When you're in the $5,000 to $8,000 range, there are other options other than just going to a dealership. The other thing, too, is that the van that we're looking for isn't the most common kind of vehicle. So the deacons are confident that they can find a good deal on a reliable vehicle for the price of what people have given, probably through an auction or through a private transaction. The problem with those is they usually, sometimes, often transpire over a shorter period. So if there's an auction, we would just not be able to do that if we have to get all the information, give 2 weeks notice to the church, vote on it, and then it just doesn't work. So that would just give the deacons the authority to use that money to buy a good vehicle on behalf of the church. So we can give the deacons that oversight if we want, or you can say, no, we want the deacons to find different van options and come back to us so that we can vote on it. That would just take more time and probably shut us out of a few of the avenues that the deacons think are probably best for finding a van like this. That was a little bit wordy. Any question about what I just said? Can somebody grab a mic for Robin? I've got this one. Jared will come to you.
I agree with with empowering the deacons to make a decision on short notice, but I think we need to put some guidelines on their decision-making. I'm not confident that we can get a van for $7,000 that's going to be any better than what we have.
Sure, that's a good thought. Richard's got a thought back here.
If you're looking for, and I agree with Robin's estimate there, $7,000 is not going to even begin to cover what you would expect out of a decent van. My other question would be, since the van that we have has not been taken care of properly, as you have said, who is going to be responsible for making sure that it's serviced on a regular basis and take care of it just like you would your own vehicle?
Yep, that would be, our Constitution gives all oversight and responsibility to the deacons for care of property. So that is their purview, and let's encourage them to do a great job caring for all of our church property, but especially and including the van.
Well,
and if there's someone that they want to appoint or ask to help oversee that, that could be a good idea.
what I'm getting at is, this has been let go. If this van had been taken care of on a regular basis, we might not be in this situation. So you're going to have somebody that is very responsible about a mechanical takeover.
Yeah, any van we get, we definitely will want to have it regularly serviced and kept up well.
I
think it's an 85, is that right?
No, it's much later than that.
Okay, sorry, I'm thinking of a different vehicle.
It's like a
Forget what I just said.
2002.
Okay, I'm thinking of something
2003.
totally different. But yes, whatever van we do or don't do at any time, we do need to keep it up. Jared.
I just want to say that I've communicated with the deacons on this, and they've actually done a good job doing the regular maintenance things. This is not we let it go, we let it fall apart. It just hasn't been taken care of. It's just an old van, and rust has done its work. That's the problem, like dry rot, things like that, because we didn't use it as regularly, and then we started using it, and then we just started running into mechanical issues that you can't plan for, you can't expect just to happen. And we've paid to repair those things. It's just that the repairs have become so expensive that it makes a lot more sense to get a vehicle that doesn't come with the same problems. Does that make sense? Like, I think the deacons have actually done a really great job at taking care of the vehicle the way that they should. Oh yeah, and it was stolen at one point. We forget about that too.
It did get stolen. Yeah.
That is a problem when people joyride with a vehicle.
One other factor on our expense, if we're buying a used van, it's very likely that we will need to put some money into it when we acquire it.
Sure.
Certainly it will need to have the tracker device moved so that it's installed into the new vehicle. There may be new tires or whatever. You know how it is. You buy a used car and it's got a few issues that don't keep you from buying it, but you should put the money in at that time.
For sure.
I think that that's going to have to be part of the budget of the new acquisition.
Yeah. All right, well, this is why I like congregationalism, because the 4 or 5 deacons are not car experts. None of us are car experts, but when we get 25 people in a room that have collectively owned 100 cars or more, there's a lot more collective wisdom here, which I find to be very, very helpful. The deacons discussed this, they gave their thoughts, but now it's your turn. And I'm hearing from a few people that, hey, we got $7,000 in the harvest offering. Is that really going to get us the kind of van that we want? I think we could all agree a resounding no. We would love to have a van that's more in like the 20,000 or above range. That's not a new van. That's not even thinking about new. That's just something with far fewer miles, a little bit more recent. So we can go that route. There's 2 ways that we could do that. One, we can kind of just make that a January project, rest of December into January. Hey, just a special project. That's what we're doing. We'd like to hit, we can pick a number. We're at 7,000, but we'd like to get up to 14. We'd like to get up to 18 or whatever number we pick. So we can just do that, say, hey, we're pausing the auditorium stuff because we need to do a little bit more on the van. 7 is not a good number for us. I'm not making a recommendation, I'm just giving you that option. Option 2 would be to just use money out of savings that we already have, and those would be the only 2 ways to fund more giving than we currently have at our disposal. So today, right now, it's kind of in the 7 to 8 category. I don't have a firm number because Robin and I need to talk about what's in the Camp Scholarship Fund, and we voted to fund that first, and then whatever's left over is for the van. But it'll be somewhere in the 7,000 to 8,000 range. So we can entertain a motion if someone would like to suggest, hey, 7,000 to 8,000, that's just not the kind of van we want. Let's take some out of savings, or let's keep fundraising this into the new year and just pause what we're doing on the auditorium. I'm not making a recommendation, I'm just giving options if anybody wants to make a motion that way. Another question, go ahead. Let Jared come to you.
To find the kind of van that Richard or Robin is talking about, does anybody here have an idea of what kind of number we're talking about? Is it 15? Is it 20? Is it 25? Because I think that makes a difference on, you know, if we're talking about pulling $7,000 or $8,000 out of our savings versus are we talking pulling 15 out of savings?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you have a thought, Jared?
So as you know, I have a large van, and right now it's worth $40,000. That's $20,000 more than we purchased it for. So if you want to buy it through a dealership, it's going to be really expensive. But if you buy a van the way that we're talking about through auction, whatever, like Mark has been sending me different links and things like that, that one of them is a 12-passenger van that has a platform for a wheelchair even, and that was about $7,000. So it really just depends on how you're acquiring the vehicle. If you're doing it through auction, you're going to get it through a lot cheaper. But like Robin said, yes, it's going to come with problems that are going to have to be solved. Mm-hmm. If we're going to a dealership, we are talking about $20,000 for a very subpar okay vehicle.
We can also make a motion to table if you want us to dig up more specific information for you as well. Go ahead, Dan.
I think with all the discussion that maybe we ought to table it and kick it back to the deacons for a little bit more.
That's what I was thinking too. Thank you. Second to table this matter, Danny, all in favor say aye. Great. The deacons will come back to you with just an assortment of listings of maybe things at auction, maybe things from a dealership, just a general idea of what it is we're looking for. Hey, a 2015 van with 20,000 miles on it, that costs this much. Or, you know, maybe there are lots of vans that are in the 7 to 10 range, and that might give you a little bit more clarity about what we want to do. So, well, that'll probably take into the new year, but we will get you that information, and then at that time we can choose to fundraise, use savings, or just go with what we've got. So thank you. Yeah, and the harvest offering we do always leave open to the end of the year. So if you're wanting to help with the van, we are still happy to take gifts to the end of the year for the harvest offering and maybe more. So we will get to that probably at our next meeting, which will be in end of January. Did you have a question there, somebody? Okay, great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. This isn't a good or bad thing. It's just really helpful to think about this as a congregation because our church is run by not 5 deacons. It's run by all of you. And so thank you that was helpful feedback. Okay, next. The deacons are counting, and they'll probably get here in a moment, but let me just make a guess. If the budget is presented, we won't vote on this till they come out and tell me it's been approved, but if we do vote to do the increase in missions that we voted on, I think that's a really good idea. I appreciated Dan putting that in there, and we haven't increased mission giving, but we've increased our pastors, we've increased our Sunday school, we've increased our costs for insurance and things, and our ministries, we want to look at that as well, our missions. So some options. We have, does anybody remember what the number that was proposed of an increase? It was like 12 maybe? The amount of increase? If somebody has that, it should be really easy to find.
5%.
Yep, the 5% is the percentage. What's the actual number? Is it 1,000? Say again.
$1,368.
$1,368. So if we approve this new budget, we will have $1,368 that are not allocated. In other words, we've approved them to be spent on missions, but we haven't directed them anywhere specific. I reached out to ABWE and our missionaries, the ABULs. They are coming off the field. I know I mentioned this in our last meeting. So they are talking through with the agency what retirement will look like. The implication from what ABWE told me is they will probably recommend that churches still continue to support them indefinitely till death through their retirement, just to help them to stay afloat, but they probably will not need the same level of support. So the mission agency will probably not recommend, hey, we just encourage all churches, just keep your support level exactly as it's always been indefinitely through the rest of their life. They will probably encourage us to keep supporting them at some lower level. So we can consider that when they bring that information to us. But if we want to tonight, we can consider other options for mission support. One would be to increase our support for any of our missionaries, and one would be to pick up a new missionary. We already mentioned the Woosters. Dan McCool kindly reached out to all of our missionaries toward the beginning of the year just to check on their support level. The Woosters are the only ones that indicated to us that their personal level is not fully supported. Now, we do have a lot of agencies and missions endeavors that aren't really a specific person. So we've got like Faith Baptist Bible College, or we've got the India missions that's like 2 different families and a college and like a group of churches that they're always doing different projects. So there's a lot of options there. We can take a motion in a few moments here, but just one thought from me as pastor. Since we're losing a missionary in Africa, I would just suggest, I would love to encourage our church to consider partnering with the Muwindis. A few reasons why I think that would be good for us. One, I think it's great to hear about different regions of the world that God's working in, and we are not going to be hearing about Africa anymore because our missionaries have left. So I would love to hear about what God's doing in Africa. I also really like that the Muwindis, they've been there for a while. They're well established, and they've proven their faithfulness over many, many years. They've started multiple churches, and they continue to serve well there. So I was encouraged by their visit with us. I'd love to partner with them, but that's just a suggestion. So do we have numbers yet, Pastor Jared, have the ballots been counted?
We missed Landon and Darian upstairs, so
okay.
they're adding their votes right now.
Just counting a couple more up there, and we'll have that. So before we take any motions to that end, would anybody like to discuss that? Any thoughts you have related to missions support? Okay, thank you. Yeah, they've been here a couple times in the last 3 years, and I think they've even been here back when Pastor Jeff Holob was here. So, Jared.
Also, we have a missionary coming out in July who's from India also, and he was here actually on Sunday, got him connected with a few churches in the area. They're looking for support. His name is Dr. Billa, and he's planted like 30 some odd churches in India, and he's trying to manage all of those, plus some churches he's planted in Kenya. So anyway, he's coming out in July, something I need to consider. I know that's far out, and like we're making decisions now, but just throwing that out there.
Sue just said she liked the Muwindi idea, that they've been here a couple of times. Any other thoughts?
I'm nervously raising my hand. I like the idea that we would have a spectrum of experience within our pool of missionaries. I love the Ables, but we are already supporting in retirement 2 other missionaries. This would be the 3rd retired missionary if we leave that money with them.
Yep.
I think I want to see some active, some active growth. And the Muwindis are experienced. So we've got some new missionaries. We'll then have some experienced ones and some retired ones. You see where I'm at.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
But I'm not thinking of adding another retired.
Sure, yep. Appreciate that. Helpful comments. Richard, bring a mic here.
If we're supporting, or helping to support missionaries that are already retired, what are they doing back here in the States to elicit funds from us?
Yeah, good question. So help me remember, we've got the stack houses. Are there any, and the Ellises. So basically, today, a lot of mission agencies really strongly encourage their missionaries to raise support for what they need for day-to-day living on the field and to fund a retirement as well. 30, 40 years ago, when the Ellises and the stack houses began, the prevailing wisdom, and I'm not making a comment about what I think is right or wrong, I'm just reporting history and missions to you. The prevailing wisdom was, get yourselves to the field as fast as you can, God will take care of you, and Evie Taylor was a good example of that. She went into retirement with nothing. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, that was just that was a normal way to do things. You just go to the field with what you need for today, and retirement will figure itself out. So the stack houses, for example, they served in Papua New Guinea, but their mission agency told them, hey, you're like over 80. They're like eager. They wanted to stay there. I think they would have liked to have died there. But mission agencies have a little bit of responsibility to consider if you're a good fit for the field. And some mission agencies do that on a case-by-case basis. Some agencies just say, hey, when you hit the magic number 70, you have to leave the foreign field because we do not want you to have issues there or to be a burden, or I don't know what their reasonings are, but the stack houses were told, you are coming back to the States now. So churches at all times support them voluntarily. Any church can stop supporting any missionary at any time that it decides to. They just didn't really have anything ready for retirement, so they just requested from their churches, hey, if you supported us on the field, we'd love it if you were willing to support us in retirement as well. So our church has never changed that. If we decide we want to change the way we support the Ellises or the stack houses or the Abuels when they conclude their final wind down here, we're able to do that at any time as a church. So that's a good... We did, yep. So that was considered, hey, they have changed their status. Do we want to support them into retirement? So it's a great question, though, Richard. I appreciate it. Any other missions questions? Okay, so let me just move through this quickly. Our treasurer will be Sue Bush, fellowship coordinator Nita Fincham, Sunday school secretary Lisa Versteeg. Thank you, Lisa. Welcome to your new position. So working with Pam Dietrich, who continues as their Sunday school superintendent. And then all three deacons are approved and can begin serving. That's Landon, Dave, and Dan McCool. And then the budget was overwhelmingly approved, and the gift to Jared and Tyler as well. So that was your vote tonight, so thank you for that. And so we've got a couple things. One, we can talk about missions, and then I think Pam wants to make a motion as well. First, we tabled the van discussion, so we'll take that up in January. Do we want to do anything on missions tonight, or do we want to table that? I know it's getting late, so I don't want to prolong it. Okay, motion to table by Megan, seconded by Danny. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay, and do you want to talk more about VBS tonight, Pam, or table that?
No, I already made a motion.
Okay, so Pam would like to make a motion that we add, that we clarify VBS and, add a category specific to Back to School Bash. So she mentioned 500, and so both of those right now there's just a line that says VBS. So Pam's motion is that we have a different line for Back to School Bash that's funded itself at 500. Is there a second to that motion? Jim Worley, any questions? Okay, this would just amend the budget that we already passed. So all in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? Okay, we will make that amendment to the 2025.